are here today because we are here on behalf of all New Yorkers. Because this culture of damn the small businesses, specifically our neighborhood grocery stores, as well as the food service industry as a whole, ends today. We are here because we oppose New York City and New York State's plan for a $127 million taxpayer-funded subsidy package to finance the relocation of Fresh Direct to the Harlem River Yard in the South Bronx. This is corporate welfare at its worst. What we're asking for is an even playing field. Today is a very important day. Today, we join together to let everyone know that the future of our workforce, the future of our businesses, will no longer be directed by the will of the few who control the purse strings. Those who stand with us today relate to the fact that we are all in this together, and that is how we will prosper as a community. In fact, talking about those who stand with us today and being together, I think it's very important that we know where the folks who are going to be running for mayor in 2013 stand.
Yeah.
All of
Yes.
us. Yes. Including the Speaker of the City Council, including other people who have announced that they're going to be running, including the former borough president of the Bronx, where Fresh Direct would be located, Adolfo Carrion. We need to know where they stand on this issue now.
Yeah.
We have a number of speakers here with us, concerned civic leaders, local business people, and elected officials who understand the devastating effects this ill-gotten plan will have on New York City and our state as a whole. To begin, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Vince Tabone. Vince Tabone is the Director of Government and Community Affairs for the Red Apple Group and counsel to John Catsimatidis. Vince?
Thank you very much. John wanted to be here today himself personally. This is very important to him, but he had pressing business concerns and he sent me to read some remarks. But let me just preface this with a few thoughts. John Catsimatidis has worked for many years with the city and with the state on matters of public concern, on philanthropic endeavors, and he was personally very, very concerned and wanted to add his voice to the many voices here because this relates to first principles. Fundamentally, it seems unfair to provide tax dollars to one business to try and put others out of business. Many people don't realize that the supermarkets that John is associated with, Prestige, is only 3% of his holdings. So it's not so much a bottom line issue for him as a concern for, again, first principles, what's right for the city, as well as many of his employees who've been with him for 20 or 30 years. So that's why he wanted to lend his voice, and that's why I have a statement read on his behalf. As you know, he's the chairman and CEO of Prestige, which is a supermarket chain that's been doing, which he's owned since 1986. This is John. I am opposed to using my tax money and the tax money of all the smaller and struggling food retailers in New York City to fund our competitor. A competitor whose objective is to put the city's neighborhood supermarkets out of business. This puts my business and the majority of my employees and families, most who have been with me for my company for over 20 years, at a great disadvantage. This is jobs blackmail. This jobs blackmail promises theoretical jobs, but destroys existing, higher-paying jobs in the neighborhoods. And the traffic congestion Fresh Direct trucks create is a horror in the city, where trucks park in the middle of the street as they deliver individual consumer orders. To justify the payout, the state and the city claims that Fresh Direct is a wholesaler. This is simply not true, and it's laughable, and we urge you to call the state and city appointed officials who are saying this on it. Fresh Direct delivers to individual consumers 95% of the time, and it's not a warehouse. The state and the city are using tax money they collect from existing taxpayer stores and using it to fund their competitor, Fresh Direct. It is unfair to do this, and it creates an unfair competitive advantage for the rest of the retail food stores in our beloved city. New Yorkers don't mind competition. In fact, they're all for it. But let Fresh Direct use their own money. That's John Catsimatidis' statement. Thank you.
Excuse me, is that mic, is the speakers working?
Thank you, Vince. Our next speaker will be Councilwoman Letitia James.
Thank you. All right. So whenever you have a conservative and a liberal stand together on an issue, certainly you can come to the conclusion that something is wrong. And clearly, when you give one entity an unfair advantage over others, then there's really something wrong with the equation. The fact is that small businesses are hurting in the city of New York. And the fact is that we should use tax dollars to equalize businesses in the city of New York. And one business should not be singled out, particularly at a time when small grocery stores and small mom and pops are suffering. So I'm really here because it's an issue of equality and an issue of fundamental fairness and an issue of making sure that one business does not have an unfair advantage over others. And that's really what this is about. I'm concerned about those grocery stores that are struggling all over the city of New York. And I am concerned that tax dollars be used in a more fair and competitive fashion in the city of New York. And so I would hope that this program be put out there in a way that is competitive, that in a way that everyone can apply for it, and that it not give anyone any advantage over another. And that's really why I am here today. And I thank all of you for assembling. Thank you.
I think the councilwoman got it spot on by pointing out that this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue that everybody needs to be getting on board with. It's not a partisan issue. It's not a geographical issue. It's all of New Yorkers. So we're going from liberal to conservative. We're going from Brooklyn to Queens. And to make that point, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Councilman Dan Hallinan.
Don't let Tish fool you. We agree on a whole host of things and stand together at a bunch of rallies. In fact, I'm going to make an analogy. I didn't think the mayor could find a way to hurt the bodegas and small business owners when he instituted the soda ban because they were outside of his reach. Well, guess what? He found a way to do it.
That's right.
He found a way to do it. So now we'll be able to regulate everything his heart desires. Look, Fresh Direct is a good company as long as it's playing by the same rules as everyone else. The notion that they are not an individual retailer is belied by the fact that my iPhone app shows they'll deliver to me. All I got to do is punch in the information on my Fresh Direct iPhone app, and guess what? Fresh Direct will be at my house with a delivery. I can even schedule the time. That's pretty impressive. It doesn't sound like this company's in need of a bailout, but apparently the mayor of the city of New York thinks we're in the business of corporate bailouts, despite his opposition to many of the bailouts of the federal government. And I find that to be completely disingenuous. The small mom and pop businesses in this city pay real estate tax, pay a rental fee to their landlords, keep local people employed in their neighborhoods. Those are the people who are standing behind us right now. That's the reason this is wrong. That's the reason why every New Yorker should be concerned. Look, big box retailers have come in, and if they do it as of right, there's nothing we can say to stop them. But what we can say as a city council, what we should do as fiscally responsible people, is not shift the burden for corporate enterprise onto the citizens of the city of New York. We pay enough in taxes, we pay enough for our goods here. The last thing we need to do is take city dollars and give them to one business whose business is to put out of business hundreds, if not thousands of others. So I join with my colleagues in the council, some of whom are not here. I know Steve Levin was with us in this press release. I know that Melissa Mark Viverito, again, we're showing the diversity of feeling on this, are against this. We will continue to press the mayor's office to do what it's supposed to do. Keep a level playing field for all businesses and make sure that our communities are not the ones who suffer the consequences of bad fiscal policy. So I salute my colleagues who are here, and I also thank everything that is being done by our restaurant groups, by our supermarket groups, who have been fighting the mayor tooth and nail on all of these issues. Keep up the fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you to our elected officials who've joined us today. So we went from Brooklyn to Queens, and now we go to the Bronx. The epicenter of the issue, I'd like to introduce Michael Johnson, South Bronx Unite.
I just want to say thank you to for you all being here today. I know it's a little cold, but at least we have the sun to keep us warm. I want to say thank you to Councilwoman Tish James, the Councilman Dan Holleran, and also Melissa Viverito, who's been extremely supportive of our fight here in the South Bronx. We also want to extend our gratitude to the support from Maria del Carmen Arroyo, State Senator Serrano, and Congressman Serrano, who's asked for an audit and a moratorium on all future development on that land and an audit of the lease of the Hollywood Rail Yard. I mean, we're talking about financial issues here, which is very important, but you know, we shouldn't also supplement, which this deal does, supplement one business to cause environmental risk to a community that has acid rates 8 times the national average. Fresh Direct proposes to bring 1,000 truck trips to our community. We're saying no. More than 3,000 vehicle trips to our community. We're saying we want an environmental impact statement. One has not been done for this Harlem Rail Yard, in which Fresh Direct plans is trying to put their project on for 20 years. You know, we commend the Grocers Association, we commend the Bodega Associations, and standing up and having the strength to say these subsidies are not fair, not only financially in terms of giving an unfair advantage to, over them and their competitors, but also to the fact that it's causing a potential serious environmental risk to the South Bronx. Our people are literally dying from asthma and health illnesses. So we are saying no more of these backroom deals. This deal was done 2 days, supposedly was announced 2 days before the first public hearing. That's ridiculous. Where is the democratic process? There's more right now. But this past weekend, Fresh Direct insulted us even more by bringing about 900,000 pounds of discarded and damaged trucks to the Hollywood Rail Yard. What's the excuse they say? Well, our area got flooded in Long Island City, so why discard your garbage on the Bronx? The Bronx is no longer and has to stop being the dumping ground for New York City and all the things they don't want. Thank you.
South Bronx demands respect. Boycott Fresh Direct.
Woo! All right. So we hear a lot about fairness. We hear about economy. We hear about the environment. But we need to talk about how this will affect jobs, how this will affect our local economy, something very tangible. So I want to bring up our next speaker, Good Jobs New York, Bettina Damiani.
Hi, I'm Bettina Damiani and I direct Good Jobs New York. I am so thrilled to be here with such diverse groups of people talking about how we need to stop corporate giveaways in our city. The Fresh Direct proposal, and I'm going to say this a lot of times, proposal, it is not a done deal, despite what officials want to tell you, despite what media reports say, this is still a proposal. No money has been allocated to Fresh Direct. The problem with this issue is it's bad democratic planning. If the city would have asked local business and residents in the South Bronx, we'd like to invest $127 million in your community, what would you like? Do you think they would say we want Fresh Direct? Do you think they'd say give us a company without looking at what the environmental impacts for our children's future might be?
No.
Of course not. So we have these resources. We need to make sure that they create good quality jobs. Only a slight portion of the state subsidies, if they are to be approved, would actually leverage the money to guarantee job creation. The process for the way the city allocates economic development subsidies for too long has been void of true democratic planning. There have been corporate giveaways, and we have to realize that this is going to be where it stops. The future of economic development in New York City must be in rebuilding our city, making sure that we have good infrastructure, that we have good public goods for small businesses to be able to come back after Hurricane Sandy. This is not where our Fresh Direct is not our priority anymore. Our priority is making sure that our infrastructure and our city is a good place for all businesses to be conducted. So thank you very much, and say no to Fresh Direct subsidies.
I think we've seen corporate welfare before in New York City. We've seen how it negatively affects the communities that host it, and we've seen it. We've certainly seen it in Willets Point in Queens. And that's why our next speaker is Irene Prestigiacomo from Willets Point United.
Solidarity.
I have a statement I'd like to read to you. I'm Irene Prestigiacomo, and I'm a member of Willets Point United. who is here today to express the support of my group for the campaign of South Bronx Unite and its food store allies against the city's outrageous subsidies for the online grocer Fresh Direct. The campaign against Fresh Direct is very similar to the Willets Point fight. It is a fight against economic development policies that victimize neighborhoods and small businesses like my own for the benefit of the well-connected. In both situations, the city is giving away millions of tax dollars for projects that will hurt the quality of life in neighborhoods that have fewer resources to fight against the special interests. In Willets Point, the city is giving away $200 million worth of land that the taxpayers have paid for over to a partnership led by the Related Company, one of the city's richest developers. The project will be a 1.4 million square foot mall that will severely pollute the surrounding neighborhoods of Corona and Jackson Heights with over 80,000 car and truck trips a day. In the process, the city wants to use condemnation to take away my family's property. Making matters even worse, the city is proposing to take away a large area of parkland to build a mall and a soccer stadium in Flushing Meadows, a park that the mostly Hispanic immigrant community uses for recreation. Clearly, this is a city that doesn't give a damn for those who don't have millions of dollars to throw around. In looking at what the city is doing for Fresh Direct, we can see the same disregard for the interests of the less affluent neighborhoods. Putting a trucking facility with noxious fumes into a neighborhood already overburdened by environmental hazards is bad enough. But proposing to use $127 million of our money, tax money, to do it is incomprehensibly stupid. And it's blatantly wrong. Mr. Bloomberg and Andrew Cuomo want to play Santa Claus with your and my money. Let them use their own money. These people, especially in light of the hurricane and everything else that's happened, can't afford this. We all need to take a stand against corporate giveaways that harm neighborhoods and small businesses. We need to encourage the next citywide elected officials to take us in a different direction, towards small business and neighborhood-friendly economic development policies, and away from corporate welfare policies that hurt so many New Yorkers with the least ability to fight back. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up our final scheduled speaker from the Sunrise Cooperative, Marco Nero.
Good afternoon. My name is Marco Neira, and I represent the small business and workers of Willis Point who have been struggling with the New York City EDC to get the opportunity to move together from Willis Point, a new location that would allow us to become a destination for automobile repairs and services. We are unable to move together. It is unlike most of us who survive by ourselves. We are being forced to move because the city is giving our land away to rich developers, free of charge. We are outraged by the decision of the city and the state to provide Fresh Direct with $127 million to move from Queens to the Bronx, $127 million for one business. That is crazy. They say it is for the preservation of jobs, but we represent hundreds of business owners and workers, and EDC doesn't care about us the way they care about Fresh Direct. Why is that? Unfortunately, EDC and the city have been very reluctant to help us, especially when it comes to giving us sufficient money to move. They have unwilling to provide the kind of relocation package that we need to be able to move and reestablish ourselves in a new site. My business owners and workers are mostly immigrants who have come to this country to pursue the American dream. We are hard worker examples of what is best America and New York City. And that is why we are so frustrated by the hard attitude of EDC. They seem to just want to disappear. The philosophy of this mayor seems to be help the big guys and then let the little guys fend for themselves. In the process, He doesn't care if we are crushed as the city gives away land to the rich developers and our small business are left to struggle to survive. Our elected officials should say no to the Fresh Direct deal and use some of the money to help a smaller business like ours. Why give it $127 million to the food retailers when there are thousands of smaller retailers employing tens or thousands of workers who could also use some help from the city? We need to stop the corporate giveaways and help the city. Smaller business America is the land of competition, but that doesn't mean you give it one competitor an advantage that so many others don't have. Thank you, and stop Fresh Direct giving away.
Thank you, everybody. I think the message is clear. We're not going to sit back and accept this $127 million corporate welfare package. We're not going to accept any corporate welfare package that takes away the even playing field from our small businesses, that reduces or hurts or negatively impacts the quality of life for our local neighborhoods, for our communities, and for our small businesses to be able to survive in what is right now a difficult economy. We stand together, we stand united, and there is no way that we're going to go away quietly. Thank you.
We'll take questions from the press.
Anybody?
Yes, sir.